We'd like to welcome you to the Healthcare Revolution podcast, where we empower you to take control of your health, restore your trust in the medical system, and achieve lasting wellness. I am your host, Brad Powell, Doctor of Physical Therapy and owner of an award-winning foundation physical therapy here in the Salt Lake Valley. Each episode, we dive into all things rehab prevention, overall health, bringing you expert insights from leaders across the healthcare fields. Please note, while we aim to provide with the best knowledge and advice, the opinions shared represent those of experts in the field and are not to be replaced with professional medical advice. So let's revolutionize healthcare and wellness together. Welcome to the Healthcare Revolution podcast. Today I have with me Pyper Hatfield, who gave a presentation in our clinic specifically on the benefits of stress, which sounds like really counterintuitive because when you think about stress, it's typically a negative connotation to it. And we're going to dive into today how stress can be very positive and beneficial to your health if you apply it appropriately. So, Pyper, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brad.
I'm so glad we finally got you on.
Yeah, me too. It's exciting.
I heard you present this topic and with such confidence and so much knowledge and understanding of the topic. And obviously this goes back to school. Tell us about this book that you read in class.
Yeah, so it was introduced to me when I was in PTA school. And as everyone knows, PTA school can be stressful. Well, PT school, any school can be really stressful. And so our professor, who is actually Justin Carrier, who also happens to be on the APTA Utah board, he's actually the president, he was one of my professors, and he suggested this book. Yeah, it's called The Upside of Stress. And basically we had the time to read the book and just learn about, the different techniques and things that we can use to improve our stress.
Yeah. So, because when you present it, you talked about you asked the question, what comes to your mind when you think about stress? And a lot of us are like, well, it's bad for your health. There's cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that breaks down tissue in your body, and you're constantly in that. We thought about tests. What are some of the other things that were brought up?
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, I know growing up, I was always told that stress is a killer. And so I literally thought if I was stressed too much that I was going to die.
Your heart was going to stop.
That my heart was going to stop, or that I would just age faster, that I just, that I would die younger. Just those crazy ideas that, stress is so bad for you and that there's nothing good that comes from it. When in reality, after reading this book, I have a complete different perspective on it, and it's helped me with pretty much all aspects of my life.
So we're going to talk about how we frame this differently, but I really want to set the platform for where we're going to build off of here. How do you define stress now? Now that you've read and kind of been through this education, how has that shifted for you?
Yeah. So, I've actually been talking about this a lot, even with patients, and just talking about how stress for, like I said, a long time, it seems like it's a bad thing, or it's a barrier for us to get things done. When in reality, it's actually a built-in mechanism in our bodies to help us rise to the challenge. That's the way I see it now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an opportunity to rise to the challenge, because these internal built-in mechanisms happen for us, right? Even think about anxiety. Why do we have anxiety? Typically, we're anxious about something because we're preparing for it, and it's something important to us. We wouldn't be anxious if something wasn't important to us. I might have anxiety, being anxious for public speaking, right? But it might be because it's important to me. This audience that I'm talking to is really important that I portray a certain message, and that's I might feel anxious. Same thing with stress, right? Stress, when applied appropriately over time, is very healthy and it's very normal. We talk about in physiology, the Wolff's Law. You add stress to a bone and you do it appropriately over time, it changes the bone density. It changes the strength and the chemical makeup of the bone. When applied too much, that's when we have a fracture. When not applied enough, that's when we have osteoporosis or weak bones. And it's really interesting to me how society has changed stress to make it such a negative thing. What are some reasons why you think society makes stress so negative?
Yeah, I mean, it goes way back to when we were first studying about stress. There's actually a really interesting study, and I can't remember all the details of it, But the researcher that first began studying about stress, he put these lab animals through these like horrendous life or death situations. Basically, he would throw, like, for example, he would like throw mice in these buckets of water and make them swim until they start drowning, right? And then he would do it.
Sounds like a sad study.
It's horrible. Like, if you're an animal lover like me, and I know we have to do things for science, but that was extreme.
There were definitely mice injured in this study.
There were definitely mice injured, yes. And he would do it day after day after day. So these mice obviously had issues. Every day they would be terrified to get in the water. He did another one where he'd put, two mice together and they'd fight each other, and one would always win, the same one. And so these mice after time started to but they started to, show symptoms of like depression. But same thing, it was like a life or death situation where they are literally fighting for their lives. And so he just put a coin term on there, like stress is a killer. Based off of what he found in these mice, when in reality, those were life or death situations. And I don't think...
Very, very different, right? That's not what we deal with, on a day-to-day basis. No. Are we going to die? Are we swimming for our lives? I think we might be in the very similar situation. It's like, just keep swimming. You're in the deep end. You got no option, right? And you never have a wall to touch or anything to bring you up. You just got to keep swimming. I think all of us could agree that level of stress is like I was talking about with the bone, like that's a fracture. That's when you break a bone, and when the stress is applied way too much. Any other thoughts on that?
No. I think sometimes we get caught up in like a quantity, like there must be like a certain quantity of stress that I can have before I just break, when I really think it has to do with mindset. I've had times in my life where I'm extremely stressed, but then I recognize that the reason behind why I'm stressed is, for something that I care about, and it's something that's bringing me closer to something that I value. And so it's easier for me to digest that stress and recognize like, no, this is for my good. But if it starts to, I feel like if you start to do things that are stressful that don't bring you closer to your values, that's when I think the harm comes in, or like the negative impact.
How do you feel like this relates to school and students that are taking tests? Like, how does this relate to them?
Oh man, it relates to everything in life. So for students, I know for me at least, when I was reading the book, just knowing that stress is normal and that it's actually a good thing to have, really helped me to benefit, or it really benefited me when I did testing in school, because I recognize like this anxious feeling that I'm having is actually going to, bring clearer thoughts to my mind, because I'm getting that adrenaline pumping, or I'm getting those cortisol levels higher. But something that most people don't know about cortisol is that it actually shuts off like non-essential functions that you're not using for a task. And so it's allowing you to really be more focused in things that you're about to test for. So for students, I think it's just important to recognize like the benefit behind stress, that it's actually helping you, as we mentioned, rise to the challenge of what you're doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you don't do it right and you're stuck in these high cortisol levels, specifically in the physical therapy world, if people are consistently living in this chronic cortisol high level stress, what does that do physiologically to the body and being able to heal?
Yeah, it does a lot. I know for me on my social media page, I'm saying a lot about like, oh, if your cortisol is high, like you'll have a harder time getting pregnant. You'll have a harder time losing weight. I know in the PT world, it's harder to build muscle. It actually breaks down muscle if you're in those high cortisol ranges all the time.
It's so hard to get these people to heal.
Yeah.
Like we get plateaued. We're like, well, you're not improving. Why? Like, how's your stress level? How's your anxious level? Like, are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? Like, we're going into these other mechanisms because musculoskeletally, this should have healed. Why is it not healing? There's some other barrier in your life that's limiting your ability to heal. And the body literally the cortisol is breaking down muscle when you're in those high stressful states, and it can never really heal and start that healing process. So a really important mechanism to understand clinically and as a patient as well. If you have those high cortisol levels or stress levels, it stops your ability to heal. Tell me about how this tell me about some of the strategies that this book talks about and strategies that you've used. Like what are the strategies that it talks about?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest one that she focuses on, and probably the main one, honestly, is just when you are stressed, the number one thing that you need to do is acknowledge first that you're stressed. The second
I'm never
one,
stressed.
all right, and tell me your secret. No. Yeah,
That's important, right? Like you know, there's one time, I'll let you go back into the strategies here in a minute. There's one time I literally thought I was having a heart attack. I can't remember if you were around during this time, but I woke up at like 3 a.m. and literally felt like there was an elephant on my chest. And I was like, this is a heart attack. I'm literally like the doom and gloom that they explain, heart crushing pain. I'm feeling that. And I remember I sat there for like 2 hours. I literally was on the ground in my bathroom and I could not get up. And it was the weirdest thing because that's just not me. And my wife came in at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I literally can't breathe. My chest hurts. She's like, are you having a heart attack? I'm like, I'm fine. And ends up like I had my mom come over because I thought I was going to go to the emergency room. She came over and then all of a sudden it was feeling better. So I was like, oh, I'll go to work. And then I started treating patients and it was one of those shorter days and I ended up like just getting through it. It was really rough. And I didn't tell anyone at work. Really dumb if I was having a heart attack. And then I ended up going to the emergency room. Turns out I had pericarditis, which is like inflammation of the lining around your heart, which is directly correlated with stress levels. But at the time, if someone asked me if I was stressed, I would say, no, I'm not stressed. But as I looked at like all the things that were happening in life, we just had a newborn, we opened up a new clinic, like there was just, we bought a house all at the same time. Like there was just so many things that were going on. And I love what you said, like the first step is just acknowledge you have a problem. Isn't that with anything, right? Like,
Yeah.
just acknowledge it.
Yeah, it's like the first steps in addiction recovery. You got to acknowledge it,
I was
right?
addicted for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, she talks about like acknowledging it, number one, and then number two is welcoming it, right? Find the root cause of why you're so stressed. You know, let's give an example. Like, for example, I had to do a presentation, as we all know, and I was very stressed and very nervous.
Was it the stress presentation?
No,
presentation.
I'm just kidding. Yes.
I was stressed about my presentation on stress.
Yes, it's been fun. But no, she talks about how you have to figure out what the root cause is and like, why are you so stressed? So for me, like an example, I was giving a presentation for work and I was very stressed. And when I put this into use, it made me realize the reason I'm so stressed about it is because I care. Like I care about doing a good job at work. I care about getting this information out to people because it's been so useful to me. And I want other people to have that tool too. And then the last part of it is, I think it's use. So what are you going to do to channel that stressful energy for the better? So for me, I had, months to prepare this presentation. And so anytime I was feeling stressful, it was, what can I do to not make me feel stressful? I'm going to go work 10 minutes on this presentation. Mm-hmm. And it kind of fulfills that, that nagging sensation you get when you're stressed out.
Yeah.
It makes you feel just even a little bit better, even if it's for 10 minutes. So.
Okay. So let's go through those steps again. So first is to acknowledge. Mm-hmm. So you actually acknowledge and you say, I'm stressed. And then you say, I'm going to welcome the stress. And then the third piece, and there's just three, correct? Third piece is to channel it the right direction. Say, what can I do to manage it? What can I do to channel it in the right direction? And also develop the mindset to say, this is positive. And why is it positive? So identify the actual deep root cause of it and then channel it in the right direction. Say, I am stressed. For one, I'm stressed. For two, I'm welcoming this because I know I care about this. I care about how I'm perceived. I care about getting this information because I know it's going to help people. And then I'm going to create a strategy in which I'm going to decrease the overall stressfulness I feel because I know I care about it. I'm going to create, I'm going to do 10 minutes a day working on this so I can decrease my overall stress about it and feel more comfortable with it. And then tell me what that does. What's the science behind that? As you do those three things, what does it do for your body?
Yeah, they actually did a study of this, well, similar study, not exactly using that technique, but what they did is they took two different groups of students. One group, we'll just call it the positive group, and then the second group was the negative group. We'll just say that. The positive group was asked to give a presentation. They had no idea what the topic was going to be, and this is for both of the groups. They didn't know what they're going to present on, but they had 10 minutes to prepare and then 10 minutes to present. What they didn't know is that there were going to be paid actors in there to judge them and critique them and stop them like every 2 minutes, be like, oh, I don't like that. Or, hey, can you start over? That wasn't good. So what they did for the positive group is right before they went in, they gave them a video to watch about how positive stress can be and that it's really good for you. And then the second group, the negative group, obviously right before they went and did the presentation, they had to watch a video about how stress is so bad for you and you shouldn't be stressed. And so obviously, as you can imagine, they went in and did their presentations, and these judges or these actors were just judging them really harshly. And at the end, they decided to test, I think it was either their blood levels or their saliva, I can't remember, to see like where their hormones were at or their stress levels. And the group that had a more positive mindset that went in, the positive group, their levels were way lower. They were able to present way more confidently. Whereas the other group, the negative group, their levels were like off the charts. Their cortisol was high. Their adrenaline was high. Everything was high. So,
all through education. Mm-hmm. Through a simple video. This reminds me of one of my favorite studies. I should have this memorized, who the author was. It was another mice was harmed in this study. Essentially, the scientists threw the mice in the water, and they had to swim. And he measured the first group until they drowned, which is obviously really sad. These are mice. There's definitely mice harmed in this. The second group was really interesting, though, because he had them swim, and their time frame was very similar. It took about an hour before they drowned. But he rescued them right before they drowned. And that's what it reminds me of, the stress. He rescued them, and then he let them rest for a little bit, and then he threw them back in. And what was really crazy is the mice swam for 27 hours until they drowned. So they drowned again, right? Sad again. But what was the difference? The first group, they gave up in an hour, right? The second group, they get hope because they were rescued at an hour, which gave them confidence for the future and expanded their view on what they were physically capable of, right? And I love it to this topic of stress. When we acknowledge, when we welcome, and we know that stress is a good thing when applied appropriately, it expands our ability to be able to do things in the world. Right? And actually, we can decrease the amount of stress we feel because of these strategies that we use. And it's so cool. And then you develop this ability to be less stressful in stressful situations because you've developed enough pattern and strategy of how to apply it. And you can literally choose through what you believe your hormones, right? But that study is so cool because just education alone decreased their cortisol levels, right? If you are consistently in high cortisol levels, it literally breaks down your body, and it has a very detrimental effect on your heart, on your vascular system, like on your musculoskeletal system. It literally is so damaging to your body, but just education alone creates a change.
Yeah, that absolutely does. There is, when I think about stress, there's like 4 main hormones that we talk about. So we already talked about cortisol a little bit. And then we talked about adrenaline. That's like the superhuman strength that people get, like moms lifting cars off their babies, And then there's...
Moms can do that without hormones.
You're right. They're super women all the time. And then there's also DHEA, which is a little bit less well known, which is like a neurosteroid. So when you're stressed out and that's releasing, it's literally making your brain stronger and making those neural pathways connect. And then there's also oxytocin, which same thing. A lot of people associate that as like the cuddle hormone. But the thing that's cool about that one is that when you're stressed out, your pituitary gland releases oxytocin and it motivates people to go reach out for social support when they're stressed out. I can't tell you how many people I told today, like, hey, I'm doing a podcast today, just because I was stressed about it. And I was just trying to get, that oxytocin fill, right? Like trying to get that support. And I just think it's so cool, like just knowing that about my body and knowing what it's doing. Like my adrenaline is getting higher because it's just helping me rise to the challenge. My cortisol is up because it's trying to turn off all the non-essential functions that I don't need for this moment. Yeah. My oxytocin is going because I'm just trying to get support from people and just share what I'm doing. Yeah. So yeah, just knowing those things alone helps you to feel so much better about stress and recognize no, it's there to help me. It's not to be a barrier. I think so many times people see stress as, like I said, a barrier, when in reality, it should be an opportunity to thrive. Like your body is literally helping you. Yeah.
What would you say to someone that's just kind of chronically just always stressed? Like they just feel like they're always in chaos and just like, I can never get to the point where I can even acknowledge that I'm stressed because I'm too stressed. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same concept as like, hey, don't think about a pink elephant, right? And then what do? You think of a pink elephant. So the option is not to tell someone, hey, you're stressed. Like you gotta exercise. I know, you gotta exercise. You gotta do these things to lower your stress, because then you think someone who hates exercising in the moment of their stressful life is gonna actually go exercise? Probably not, right? Same thing. They did another study where Kelly McGonigal, the author of this book, she actually went around to physicians and just asked them like, hey, what would you think would happen if you put like how bad smoking was on a pack of cigarettes? Like, what do you think would happen with the people that are actually smoking the cigarettes? Do you think that they would stop smoking or like decrease the amount of their smoking because they recognize the bad what am I trying to say? The bad
negative benefits.
Negative
ramifications.
Yeah. Or do you think that it would go up? And they all were like, well, if they know that it's bad for you and they see these like horrible things on these cigarette packs, they'd probably go down. But it was always the opposite, because these people see this stressful thing like, oh my gosh, I could die from this. I could get really sick. I could get cancer. So what are they going to go to? They're going to go to the cigarette because it makes them feel better. So yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. So what would you do instead?
Instead
of focusing on not being stressed, what's the alternative?
Yeah, I think this goes hand in hand with just what we do every day. We educate people. We let them know what their body is actually doing. For example, I actually had a patient not that long ago come in and tell me that he was really stressed about work because he also had to give a presentation. And I was like, well, let me tell you something really cool. Like your body is doing this, this, and this. Yeah. And I was like, it's actually helping you. Like that stressful feeling that no one really likes is actually there to help you, and you're going to do awesome. So I think just educating people, letting them know what their body is actually doing decreases their stress levels so much. I think mindset is everything.
Yeah. I love the way our bodies teach us. All of these things that we feel internally are really just a mirror of what's happening externally. And, sometimes you can just feel stressed because it's an alarm to tell you maybe there's too much on your plate, But ultimately, I love what you said, like get to the root. What is the actual root of the stress? Is it that you need to plan better? Is it that you need to restructure your day differently? Like what needs to be done differently because of the stress? And you create the strategy and you channel it. You say, this is going to be the best scenario for this case. And what can I do to consistently do that? Right. But anxiety is another one of these check engine lights. It's all there to just tell us that there's something going on that we need to address. But ultimately, if we know that stress is a positive thing, it changes everything. because stress is really just that internal warning about what's happening in our lives, right? And if we listen to it and we learn to channel it appropriately, it can be extremely positive.
Absolutely.
I love your thoughts on this. Tell me, Pyper, why is this so meaningful to you?
I think I'm a chronically stressed person. No, just kidding. No, it's just stress is something that everyone deals with, and you just can't get away from it. That's what life is about. We're here to learn. We're here to progress. And I want to be able to progress and not let something hold me back, right? Yeah. I just think it's so important to learn these strategies to not only help ourselves, but if you can't help yourself, you can't help others either, right? Yeah, I've just really enjoyed learning about the topic for myself, but I've been able to help a lot of other people. I've had other people read the book. I've just told people about stress, and it's just awesome because I don't think there's enough information on it other than like, oh, it's scary and it's bad. And so I would love to just help people flip that in their mind. Like, hey, no, it doesn't have to be bad. Like, it can be a really good thing for you.
Yeah.
And it's normal to be stressed. I think some people like fear that, if they're stressed, that there's something wrong in their life. And that's not the case. Like, you're just in like a character challenge, right? Like, you're trying to learn how to get through this next point of life and become even stronger for it.
I love it. Any other last thoughts or tips for anyone that listens to this about, how you've applied this in your life, or what you'd say to your patients that is consistently helpful for them? What else would you add to this?
Just recognize that, kind of what I said in the beginning, that like you've mentioned too, just that our bodies are there to help us. They're not here to fight against us, and they are telling us a story or something that's going on, and it's good to listen to it. But number one, that stress is, it's a good thing, and it's like I said, a built-in mechanism for us to rise to the challenge.
I love that. Rise to the challenge. This is think of it as an opportunity, some
right.
Superpower that's just like setting off this signal to you to say, this is what needs to be done. And your success is dependent on your ability to listen to that signal. And I love it because injuries are like this too. Injuries typically give us signals, and if ignored, can cause significantly more injury. Mm-hmm. So, I love your thoughts on this, Pyper. Thank you for bringing your expertise. This has been incredible insight and incredible tools to be able to utilize every single day. Think of stress as something that's going to help you. It's going to help you grow. It's going to help you, get better. But the beauty is you rely on other people as you go along. I love what you said about that too. Like, have people do it with you. Yoke with them and go together, because that's what life is all about, is when we work together as a team to improve things in our lives, because stress can be good. It also can be detrimental if used wrong. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your thoughts today. Appreciate you, Pyper.
Thank you so much, Rod.